Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday morning. We've got a gooder here with Matthew 8. I'm glad you can join me here this morning. We go right from the Sermon of the Mount right into a whole bunch of miracles. And you'll see that I entitled this one Little Faith and Great Faith because we see both of them in the same chapter. We see from the centurion, and then we see the disciples in the boat. So anyhow, there's a lot here to go through. I'm really excited about this. Let's get going. So right at the beginning, the very first verse, actually, yes, it's about Jesus cleanses a leper, but it's actually when he had come down from the mountain, great multitudes followed him. We see a lot of times when the great crowds follow Jesus is because of the miracles, and they love the miracles. They love, they absolutely followed him because of that. But this time they followed him because of his wisdom. We just finished the 3 days of the Sermon on the Mount, and it's this wisdom that people are in absolute awe of. And they thought, wow, what kind of wisdom. And so he comes off the mountain, and this great multitude follows him. And then we go into here where we have the leper, and he came and he worshipped him and saying, well, let's go over to here, this portion here. He says, Lord, if you are willing, you can make me clean. And then Jesus put out his hand and touched him, saying, I am willing, be cleansed. Here's an interesting point about this. This was before Jesus went on the cross, before he went and paid for all these things. And so they didn't know if Jesus was willing or not. He was asking. But now that we have the new covenant and we have the promises, we don't need to ask this anymore, if you are willing, because the word is very telling that he is willing. And so then he says, yes, I am willing, be cleansed. And so this is something to keep in mind. I know a lot of people will ask, hey, God, if you are willing. Now, if you are willing, or if it be thy will, would apply if you're saying something like, should I go to this? God, if this is your will, can you lead me? Can you guide me? Because there's nothing in the scriptures that tell us what path we should take when it comes to specific either jobs we take or things like that. But when it comes to healing, we know it's his will. But the reason this guy asked is he wasn't sure. Now, this Matthew is not in chronological order. Like Luke is. Luke is in chronological order. And so by this time, this leper, he would have seen and heard of a lot of miracles taking place. And so he would have been, I guess, seeing that Jesus has been doing some miracles. And so then he's like, oh man, if you're willing with me, that would be awesome. And Jesus said, yes, I am willing. And so this was kind of a cool thing here. But then Jesus said, see that you tell no one. So he was cleansed, and then immediately his leprosy was clean. And so this was an immediate miracle that took place. If you go into Andrew Wommack, if you're interested, you can go into his comments. There's a lot of comments on leprosy and how it's different. They kind of maybe interpreted leprosy different back then to what we have now. There was different kinds even talked about back in that day. So if you want to go further into that, if you happen to come across, I know there's somewhat of a free version online, but the one that you purchase has way more comments, way more information. So you can go deeper into that. It's kind of interesting points that he makes on that, but we've got a lot of things to go through, so we're not going to take that time right now. And then here we go. Now, when Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him, pleading with him. So a centurion is somebody, if you look at it, it's got the word cent. That is, in French, that means ça. Percent is per 100. That's for 100. Cent is 100 in French. So a centurion is somebody who's in charge of 100 Roman soldiers. Now, as to whether or not all the 100 Roman soldiers are in Capernaum, I doubt it. I think that he was stationed in Capernaum. But we see a lot of stuff already take place in Capernaum, just like I mentioned about the leper. And so the centurion has already seen a ton of things take place. He's already seen, in fact, the first miracle, individual miracle. So we see the Jesus multiplied the wine in Cana. But the very first individual miracle took place also that same time when a nobleman came to Jesus and said, "Can you heal my son?" And what we see is that Jesus, he invited him to come to his house, but Jesus said, "I don't have to go to your house. He's healed. Just go home and he's healed." So I'm sure that this nobleman was somewhat, that this story had gone about, and this centurion came across this story. Because the centurion's now got a servant that is also sick. And we see that he is standing on something. He heard the truth somewhere. He heard about Jesus somewhere. And but he understood how Jesus did it from a distance, that he was able to say to this nobleman before the previous miracle, yeah, don't worry, he's healed. Because this is what this centurion went on. When Jesus says, "Hey, I'm going to come to your house," he's like, no, don't come. He says, "I'm not worthy of that." And so then he actually heals him when we see that healing take place. So I really like this part, because then Jesus says, "I have not seen such great faith in all of Israel." Now this man, he was obviously, because in Luke we see he was connected to Jewish people, because in Luke he actually asks the Jewish people to go. I think it was Luke or maybe Mark asks them to go to Jesus on his behalf. Here we see that it's him. Either way, it's whether it's under his authority, the people go to Jesus. But anyhow, I really like how he says, "I haven't seen such great faith," because this was a centurion. But the centurion understood authority. And so to be able to understand like faith in such great ways, to understand the authority that Christ has given us and the authority that he has, and that's where the centurion really shined in this. And so we see this miracle take place. Now, the very next sentence, because he says, when he marveled, he said, "Wow, surely I have not found such great faith, not even in Israel." This next sentence is really good. I like it. I like how Andrew Wommack really points it out. He says, "And I say to you that many will come from east and west and sit down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven." What does this have to do with the centurion? Well, actually, what he's saying is, hey guys, there's coming a point here right away when Gentiles are going to be coming into the kingdom, and they're going to be sitting down with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, meaning we're going to be engrafted into that family, and they're going to have great faith also. But these people, the Jewish people, didn't like that thought. Like, I don't think so. Yeah, we've always been the ones. We're the ones. And then he says, "But the sons of the kingdom will be cast out into the darkness." He's not talking about new believers in the kingdom. He's just talking about a lot of people of Jewish faith and Jewish descent, because there's going to be a new kingdom coming. And yes, anybody can, but however, some people of the kingdom will not be accepting of the message of Jesus. So he kind of throws these two lines in there saying, hey, there's a new kingdom coming. People are going to be accepted. Then Jesus said to the centurion, "Go your way as you have believed, so let it be done." And his servant was healed the same hour. That was awesome. Now, Peter's mother-in-law is healed. We see this actually really well done in that video, the TV or that show called The Chosen. I thought they did this really well. It really brings to life, I guess, the life of Peter and his house with his wife. So this, obviously, if he's got a mother-in-law, he's got a wife also. And I thought this was really cool how they did that in The Chosen. And so that scene was really cool. This always comes out to me when I'm reading this portion. Kind of those thoughts come to mind of how it was done. But all right, many healed in the evening. So when evening had come, they brought to him many who were demon possessed, and he cast out the spirits with a word and healed all who were sick. This fulfilled what Isaiah talked about. Now this next one about the cost of discipleship. I found this to be interesting because it's easy for us to kind of look at this and maybe criticize or even question, what is Jesus saying here? So when Jesus saw great multitudes about him, he gave a command to depart to the other side. Okay, this is going to be very important for the next portion. But when he saw the great multitudes about him, he gave a command to depart to the other side. Then a certain scribe came to him and said, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." And Jesus said, "Foxes have holes and birds of the air the nest, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." Then pretty much saying, like, are you sure you want to come? Because we're going to be traveling. There's going to be a lot of stuff that we're going to be doing. And I think that kind of probably, I'm not sure if it turned him off or not, but another of his disciples said to him, "Lord, let me go first go and bury my father." But Jesus said to him, "Follow me, let the dead bury their own dead." You'd almost think like, oh, that's a very insensitive thing to say. But really, I can read this and kind of criticize, this guy for not following Jesus right away. The thing about this is when we want to follow him, let's say he's got something for us, we tend to have excuses as to why not to do it right away. And this is just looking at the natural. That's what he's saying. The dead will bury their own dead. Listen, I've sensed in my heart that I need to do some videos and some teachings for a long time. But I hadn't. And there was always excuses. There was always a reason why. And this really comes to saying, like, hey, listen, maybe Jesus knows that if this guy goes and he goes to, bury his father, he'll come across other things, other reasons why he can't come and follow Jesus. And maybe this was the time that he needed to act. And only Jesus knows, And so he was kind of giving him like, come. And he had a reason for not to come. But I too had so many reasons why I didn't start on videos a lot earlier. So this is really, when God is commanding us to do something, this is the cost of discipleship, is to really put down everything you have, whatever reasons, and just go for it. I wonder what these guys missed out on if they I have maybe you're hearing some sounds, but I have a few boys here in the basement. So just something to consider about following God. Now, this next one, this is a really cool part. Now, wind and waves obey Jesus. Now, when he got into a boat, his disciples followed him. Now, pay attention here that at the beginning of this one, in verse 18, he gave the command to his disciples to go to the other side of the sea. And suddenly a great tempest arose in the sea, and the boat was covered in waves, but he was asleep. Then the disciples came and woke him up, saying, "Lord, save us, we are perishing." Now, remember I talked to you guys about a few days ago about the reason to fast. And fasting is about taking the Word of God, putting your spirit man, and putting priority on what God says, on what the Lord says, on His Word, and putting priority on that, and not on your five senses. Because it's so easy for our five senses to look at the natural and to be overwhelmed with the natural, and to take the report of the natural from our five senses, what we see, what we're feeling, what we're hearing, and take that as a priority. But here, so the disciples are going through this. They are now in the boat, and the crazy storm is taking place, and they're freaking out. Why? Because they're going by the natural. So why should they have faith that they're going to be fine? Because Jesus gave them the command to depart and go to the other side. You know what Jesus didn't say? He didn't say, get in the boat, go halfway, and drown in the sea. That wasn't his command. His command, his will was go to the other side. And so they could stand on that word. They could actually stand, and that should be the number one thing that they should be focusing on, even if there's a storm. It doesn't matter what's in the natural. He said, go to the other side, and so you can have faith that you will make it to the other side. And so they had that to stand on. And so it's kind of cool to see that with us prioritizing the Word of God, by us prioritizing the Spirit, we're able to tell our flesh, shut up, I don't care what's going on right now. And the same is with this, that so Jesus, he says, why are you fearful, O you of little faith? Pretty much, O little faithers. When he arose and rebuked the winds and the sea, there was great calm. And then all the men marveled, saying, wow, who can this be that even the winds and the sea obey him? Well, of course, he created all of this. He was at the beginning with God when everything was created, and all creation bows to Christ. But they marveled at this. Why? They had already seen a ton of miracles, but the natural was still really strong to them. And so this was just something that to them, they hadn't prioritized his word, his command, as being number one. The natural was still really true to their senses. And so in the middle of the storm, they were freaking out. And Jesus called them, O ye of little faith. And so we see both the great faith with the centurion, and then we see the disciples where Jesus calls them, O ye of little faith. I found this to be interesting that it's in the same chapter here in Matthew. And then we go here to the 2 demon-possessed men that are healed. So Jesus then goes, while they were going to the other side, they made it to the other side, of course, because Jesus commanded them to go there. He didn't say go drown. Suddenly they cried out. There's these 2 demon-possessed men on the other side. And they cried out, saying, what have we to do with you, Jesus, you Son of God? Have you come to torment us before the time? This is interesting because the demons even knew of the timeline. Well, somewhat. They had an idea. They knew this wasn't the time. They still had a bunch of authority here that they were going about. And so they're starting to question. But this was really cool. And then now a good way off from them, there was a herd of many feeding swine. We're going to go further into this. I think it's in Mark that has a lot more of some comments on this. But some cool things that Andrew Wommack explains is here. We'll go to verse 31. So the demons begged him, saying, if you cast us out, permit us to go away into the herd of swine. All right. I want to read this to you. We'll start at the second part here. Notice these demons desperately wanted a body. I'm sure they preferred a human body because we, as humans, have superior authority to animals. In Genesis 1:28. Therefore, when they inhabit humans, they have more authority, the demons. Demons get their authority from us. They can't do anything without our consent and cooperation. So, however, if a person isn't available, they will take any animal with a physical body. Why? Because demons are spirits, and only physical bodies have authority on this physical earth. So they are powerless without the aid of someone or something that possesses a physical body. I like what he says. A slug, a slime, or an amoeba has more authority on this planet than a demon because they are spirits and they don't have authority. And so this is really true here. This is with the demons and with the devil. They don't get authority. They can't do anything without our consent and cooperation. And I mean, there are certainly a lot of people on this planet that are consenting and cooperating with the devil. And so we see a lot of people speaking harmful words. I mean, sometimes we even consent and cooperate with the devil when we say something mean to someone. That's what we're doing. We're consenting and cooperating with the devil. But this is a really cool point where they don't have the ability. So they go into the pigs, and then what do the pigs do? Well, the pigs are pretty smart here. They go and they run off the cliff because they don't want to be. Where are we here? They don't want to have the demons inside of them, and so what do? They go and run off the cliff. Now the people who own these pigs, they weren't very happy. They come back and they tell Jesus about. They go back to their town and they tell them about Jesus. So then they come back and they beg him to leave. So then Jesus and the disciples get in the boat and go back across the sea. So they had just come, they did all this, and then they got back in the boat right away and immediately went back to the other side of the sea. And so this is really cool because we're going to go deeper into this story. I believe it's Mark. That has quite a bit more. It's in Mark. So when Mark, I think 5 comes around, we'll go deeper into it. But anyhow, I found these to be interesting points. So, Eli, you want to come on? He's been like messaging me saying he wants to come on. So here we go. All right, Eli, you're awake again this morning. What? You had a good night? You had a good sleep?
Yeah.
You say hi to everybody? Hi. I hope that this was helpful to you guys. Andrew Wommack has a lot of incredible things. He's just watching himself on the laptop over there. He has a lot of great points. If you do have a chance to get this commentary by him, you'll be absolutely blessed. Eli, look. Trevor says hi. That's okay. So anyhow, if you want to get that commentary, you can. Thank you. There's a lot of great things on there. So remember, be a blessing out there. Let your light shine out there. Make a difference today. And just always remember, stay filled up. Say bye, Eli.
Hello.
Bye.